Okay, this is Milo, this is the muzzle, this is the wrong muzzle. I'll talk about it in a second. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use a conditioned emotional response, or a CER, to help a dog like having a muzzle. Now, there are two types of muzzle. This is what's called a snout muzzle. So it goes on, the dog's nose goes through it, and you can actually feed or treat, they can lick their lips a little bit. The problem with this is when dogs are, usually when we're using a muzzle, it's a stressful situation. When dogs are stressed, they start to overheat. And the way that dogs cool down is they open their mouth and they let liquid evaporate through their tongue. This prevents that. So this is the muzzle that everybody wants to use because it doesn't make my dog look like Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter one is the one you want because that allows the dog to open its mouth, they can drink water, and they won't overheat. A dog can actually die if it's in the wrong situation with this. Now, first of all, so number one, get the right muzzle so it looks like a football player face mask. They come in different sizes. It'll attach to the collar. Then you'll have a strap that'll go behind the head, and then you want to go between the eyes that attaches to the strap as well. So it's need to be 4 points of contact, and you don't want the dog batting at it or trying to get out of it. If you do this right, the dog will like the muzzle. But here's the thing about the muzzle. Most people, their dog bites. Let's put a muzzle on it. That'll stop it. Now your dog might get more egregious in terms of its unwanted behaviors because now it knows it doesn't have its primary weapon. So it might punch you or do other things. And it's also like, the only time this thing comes out is when you're putting me in a dangerous situation. So I get stressed when this thing comes out. So when you do this, you want to teach your dog how to wear it, and by helping practice wearing it in a calm sort of scenario. So thank you for coming over. So you see how he even just moved away from it. So, all right, so I have a bunch of treats in this hand. So if we do a conditioned emotional response, what we're going to do is not necessarily bypass the brain, but we're going to create a positive association. So I want a whole bunch of treats in this hand. Milo, sit. So as a dog psychologist, one of the things I do is I break things down into small individual steps. Sit. So in this case, we're going to break down just the sight of this thing. Sit. So what I do is I pull it out, he looks at it, it goes away, and I drop a treat. And you can say muzzle if you want, but I would start saying muzzle when you're putting it on him. So I put my treat hand away, looks at it, and it goes away and he gets a treat. What we should see after a couple reps is he'll lean towards it. So make sure he's looking at you. You gotta lean. Let's see if we can get a touch. That's not a criteria for me because he's done that enough times. So now we got a touch. So non-compliance, it goes away. There we go, compliance, and he gets rewarded. So this is the first stage, just to associate the sight with the muzzle. And when you're holding it, I'm holding it this way, this looks a certain way, this way. Hold it sometimes this way, sometimes this way, sometimes this way, so he's looking at it, some of the flaps are going around. The flaps that aren't going around aren't so important. Well, the idea is to get him to look at it and voluntarily lean towards it and eventually touch it with his nose. So the basket muzzle, you're gonna hold it now, this is the part where the dog's nose goes through. What I would do is hold it up like this. So this is the part the dog's nose goes, this is the end of it, so you're gonna hold the end of it down. And we'll hold it like this. It'd be harder to do this with two hands, so I'll put the treats away. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a piece of roast beef or a meat that he's allowed to have, a lunch meat, probably about like maybe 3 inch by 3 inch square or approximately, rectangular would be better than square. So what I'm gonna do is lay it across, while he's looking, lay it across here, and he come over and when he takes the treat, the lunch meat, walks away and eats it. Then I put another piece. At first, I'm just gonna do it like this. At first, it's hanging over here. Then it's hanging a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and eventually it's only inside. It's not even hanging outside. You see how he likes my hand already. Yes, good job, buddy. And so eventually, once it's all the way in, then you can start using the pellet treats. So you hold your hand at the bottom, you drop one in, and hold it down. He's got to stick his nose now into the muzzle in order to get the treat, but we're not putting it on. So now we're taking the next step or criteria. So eventually, you go like this, and he'll run across the room and stick his nose in there to get that treat. Now at this point, I'd probably be saying muzzle, or headgear, or helmet. You can say muzzle, but again, I would come up with a funny word. Gear, costume, or something like that. So once he's coming over and he's sticking his nose in without any hesitation, the next stage is he puts it in and you would twist it or pull it up so it's on him like this, take it off for 1 second, then give him a treat. And then you're gonna do the same thing. So you put it on, take it off for 1 second, take it off, give him a treat. And you're saying costume, costume, costume. You do that for about 5 or 10, however many times until he's pretty much casual about it. Next stage, I might hold it here for 1 second, then take it on costume. And then I'm holding it 2 seconds. And you're not going 1, 2, 3. At first, maybe 5 treats. So 1 second, costume. 1 second for maybe 5 treats, or 5 times, or 10, or whatever it is. So the idea is he's nice and relaxed and not trying to pull away or giving any signs of stress. His ears aren't going back or anything like that. So the next stage, once we can get to the point where you hold it like this and you're holding it for 15 seconds, then we do it. We put it on. He puts it on, and we just reach. And somebody else helps. And be careful. Reaching over him can be intimidating. So if you can't attach it, then put it on him and just pick this one up and hold it this way, and then put it down and take the whole thing off. Hold it up, then hold it up, and then hold this one, and then take it off. And eventually you want to just clasp it and take your hands down, then immediately take it off, and then take the thing off and give him a treat and say muzzle. So the muzzle goes on, I get the treat after the muzzle goes on. And I hear the command word when the treat hits my lips. Those are my fingers, I'm gonna need those for later. So now we've achieved putting it on him, and then now we're going to start elongating. So first, we just put it on, put our hands down, and take it off immediately. Then we put it on and wait 1 second before we take it off. And then 2, 3, and eventually we get to the point where you can have it on, and once it's on, and to prevent him from doing this, once it's on, I start feeding him treats through it and saying, costume. And at first it's costume, then it's like costume. 3 seconds and 5 seconds. The idea is when he gets to the point where he'll just sit here for up to like a minute without trying to bat it off. At that stage, what we want to do is we want to start putting it on him at times when there's nobody coming over, there's nothing to re-stress. We want to get to the point where he'll actually lay down on the floor and lay down and sleep wearing the muzzle. We want him to be relaxed and practice being calm while he's wearing the muzzle. The only time I use a muzzle and when I think I've fixed the problem completely, but I'm only 99.9% sure. There's a 0.1% chance. So I use the muzzle at that point. Don't put the muzzle on him and put him in a dangerous situation. He'll start not liking the muzzle and he'll act in a negative way. Now, we use this for the vet. So after he gets to the point where he can sleep with the muzzle on, then put the muzzle on, take him for a ride. But don't take him to the vet. Just take him for a short ride, then a longer ride, then a longer ride. Eventually, go to your vet's office on a Saturday when they're closed. He's got the muzzle in the car, you get out of the car, you walk to the vet's, and you sit down, and you feed him like 10 treats in front of the vet clinic at the door, and you try and get in the car and go back. So you do it again. Next time, maybe you go in the lobby and feed him treats. Think about when we go to the doctor's sticking their fingers in places we don't really like, and when we go to the doctor, we're probably not feeling good in the first place. So it's kind of a combination of a bunch of bad things. So first, we've created the sight is a positive thing, touching is a more positive thing, putting my nose in there is a positive thing. Then I practice having the thing attached. Now I practice relaxing at home with it. Then I practice going in a car with it. And good things are happening. We're on the car ride, every once in a while, somebody should stop and give him a couple treats. If he ever starts pawing at it, try to like hold some treats out and kind of delay the reaction. Don't as soon as he paws, give him a treat, because then that'll be rewarding him for doing that. So he starts pawing at it, pull out some treats, and kind of be clumsy as you're pulling him out. He sees that you're doing it, but he's like waiting. And then you pull out the treats, and the idea is to elongate that. And eventually, there's a point, like I said, you go to the vet's office in the front of the vet. But I'm not going in there. Then eventually I go in there and they're giving me treats. And do it like that at closing time if you can. Then eventually do it during lunch when there's nobody there, if possible. And go in there, go in the exam room, have him get up on the table and just feed him treats through the muzzle, then leave. By the time you actually go in for another vet visit, he should have been to the vet like 5 or 10 times and be like super happy to be there. This is my happy place. Even though he's wearing the muzzle's no longer negative and the encounter is a positive. And so after a while, you can have him wear that muzzle. Now, don't wear the muzzle just as like, well, I'm not sure he's going to do. Again, don't put him in situations he's not prepared for. We want him to be nice and relaxed. And there'll be different sized muzzles. So when you go to Petco or PetSafe or Petco or PetSmart is where I'd recommend. So you can get one and just say, look, I'm not sure. I'm guessing he's probably going to be at a 4 is the number, probably a 4 or a 5. So get a 4, put it on him, and see how is it too loose or is it too snug? And just, with that Goldilocks amount. And then if it's wrong, you can just do it, bring him in the parking lot. So he stays in the car, you go in and buy it, and then come out and try it on him and see if it fits. Well, you could probably do it with this sort of thing or with a different one. But we want to get to the point where he doesn't have any negative, it doesn't have a negative association with it. Milo. Sit. Well, this is Milo, and these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that needs to learn how to use a muzzle.